are you?
Good. So we're here with Bret and Bob. So it's great to finally speak to you as well. I've had your son on our show, especially tonight since we're celebrating youth baseball. And I know that he spoke fondly of growing up and being around you, and you, obviously, around your dad. 3 generations. So what is it about the game that drew you into it, and then your son, and your other son as well? So,
well, I think we're all forced into it. As much as all my kids had a choice, they could do whatever they wanted. But I was the same way as my dad. I mean, it was, you're going to the park, I'm going with you. So, just around it, loved it, was good at it. That's probably the biggest thing is, if you're not good at it, you got to be around it all the time, then you tend to hate it, I think.
Now, did you see the same love that you had for the game and your 2 sons when they were around the ballpark?
Well, they were raised exactly like I was raised. And everybody talks about the uniqueness. Certainly, we understand the uniqueness of the 3 generations. But it's like, no, it was just, it's the way it was. It's the way I grew up, what I did, my dad did, and my kids did. It was like, no, of course, this is just normal for us. So there was nothing unusual other than the statistical analysis of the whole thing.
Now, when I spoke to Bret, I asked him what Thanksgiving was like when everyone was around, and if you guys still in November were talking baseball. And your answer was, do you remember what you told me?
No.
It was basically, you said, it was always baseball.
Oh, yeah, when I was young especially, yeah. And Gramps was here, and oh, yeah.
We're a very shallow family, so.
We don't know much other than that.
So, but like, out of all the stories that your father told you and the stories that your grandfather told you, what's the most amazing baseball story that has been recounted in the Boone family?
Wow. Well, I don't know if there's an actual story. We all have different ones that we tend to embrace, I guess. The most unique story, of course, we were very proud of the fact that when Bret got the big leagues, becoming the first 3-generation family, and realizing the odds of that and what that's like, and then Aaron, and then I think for me, it's the fact that the 3 of us, well, actually all 4 of us played an All-Star game, and 3 of the generations started an All-Star game, and that's probably, I don't know if that's much of a story, but
pretty amazing.
As far as the when you start looking at it makes me want to go buy a lottery ticket when you look at the odds of it.
And when you guys, obviously, career's over now, and you talk about managers you've played for and managers you've played for, do you ever talk about what you've learned from different guys in the game?
I don't think we really talk about it. I think you take what you take from each situation. I don't think it's the things I think I've learned my whole career, and even I'm still learning now. It's not so much what people talk about or the words I've heard, but more of actions and how they go about their business, how they handle themselves, and not necessarily a piece of advice. More of what they do, how they interact, how they do their job. Because for me, it was always, I was looking at people. It's almost, I compare it to a team meeting. When you call a team meeting, I didn't listen to the guy that got up and ranted and raved and yelled at everybody. For me on a team, especially when I was young, I looked to a veteran player, someone who I respected, how they went about their business, how they went about the game. And it wasn't about telling me what they were going to do. It's, I watch you every day. I know if you do it or not. That was where I learned the most. Even growing up, I'm 43 years old now, but the question was asked all the time, well, it must have been really cool to get all that. I didn't get any advice from him. I really didn't. I just played. He kind of stayed out of my way. I stayed out of his way. I mean, obviously, if I had a question, he'd answer it. But there was really no teaching going on as a kid. I just kind of played. But it was more of, what I learned from him was more about how to be a professional, how to be a Major League Baseball player, how to carry yourself as a Major League Baseball player. That's what I learned from my dad. Not how to turn a double play, not how to hit a home run. We never talked about that. Now, as professionals, I worked a lot with him on my hitting. But as a kid, not really. And the thing is, our schedules, he was still playing. He played a long time and had me at a young age. So my whole childhood, he was still going to the ballpark every day. So he never really got to see me play that much. It was, when I had a Little League game, he was at the ballpark. So we didn't have much instruction or coaching. We didn't do that much.
So you mentioned you watched other guys. Who was the one major leaguer that really had an impact on you, watching the way he went about his business?
I don't necessarily think anybody in particular had an impact on me. I'd say at a young age, I loved going to the ballpark and being around those Philly teams and Luzinski and Schmidt and Rose, and I can go on and on with it. But I think if I look to one guy as a little kid, I really remember watching Pete play, the way he went about the game. And the stories I've heard about Pete, it's like, if he was 4 for 4 and it was 15-2 and it was a blowout, he was mad if he didn't go 5 for 5. Whereas 4 for 5 is a pretty good day. I think that's really cool. And the way he played the game, I still to this day I say, that's a baseball player right there. Watch him play. Could be the first game of spring training, the last game. He went about it the same way. So early impression was him. I admired how he went about his business, how hard he played. Guys over the years, for different reasons. I watch certain people prepare. I watch Edgar Martinez. I'd always pick out a right-handed hitter. And Edgar, who I obviously had a ton of respect for as a hitter, I'd watch him, I'd pick his brain about what makes you so great. Why do you have batting titles? And I don't. I want to learn from you. How do you prepare yourself? So I picked different individuals to watch. Defensive mentors. Early in my career, I worked very hard on my defense. After a while, it was kind of, I didn't need to work hard. I just needed to do my basic routine and be done with it. But early on, I worked hard, really hard. So I think it's just different people throughout your life. And like I said, it's not necessarily talking or asking questions. It's about watching. What makes them different? What makes them great at what they do? And you can always learn. I'm still learning.
And what about you? As a catcher, a little different? Anyone that you particularly watch go about your business that influenced you?
Not so much catching. I got a lot of help. I was a converted from third base. I kind of figured all the catching out for myself and modified it. But calling a game, I got a lot of help from, probably the best manager, the most knowledgeable person in baseball I ever met and played for was Gene Mullen. And I find that when I'm with the Washington Nationals, and I do a lot of evaluating, teaching, helping coaches, managers, and players, I find that I tell a lot of stories about, hey, this guy did this, and this guy did this. But as far as learning, from a hitting standpoint, it's very different now because we bring kids to the big leagues much quicker. We kind of have to.
Especially the Nationals.
And it used to be, go to learn. For every player, as much as we talk about, I'll usually have this meeting with a young player saying, you've heard all these things. I've told you can't get out on your front foot and go swing. Or for a pitcher, hey, you're coming off the ball, you're turning off. Now you've heard it, and you've heard it from different coaches. I said, at some point you have to do it, and that's really what I think what Bret's talking about is when it comes to hitting. In the old days, my dad's days, you came up and you hit. You didn't hit, you went back down, and a lot of that was there when I played. Not as much because of the different rule changes and the money invested in a lot of people, and the additional coaching and help that's around now. But now what happens is your team doesn't hit, the hitting coach gets fired. Used to be you didn't hit, you go back to the minor leagues. So that's changed quite a bit. But I think we're all a kind of a compilation of all the people that we ran into over the years. And for me it was, I get a lot of help all the time. And most of it was like, I've tried that doesn't work. You got something else? Okay, well I'm gonna go talk to this guy. But I think we're all, I don't think there's just one thing. You're learning something every day about the game, every single day. And it might be something you pick out and say, hey, did you see what he's doing? I say, yeah, here's how he does that. And I think it's all of that. There's not one person that you model yourself after. It's a compilation of a lot of different people and a lot of spread out over a lot of time.
So thank you.